How you doing, guys? This is Hybridsteel. Welcome to Hydroneer 2.0, and today I'm going to be giving you tips. Now, most of the time I would give somebody a tip as like do this and do that, and I've covered quite a lot of it in basic videos before, but today I'm going to be going through a few things that will help you in your journey. Okay, so number one, and I see this a few times, not often, but I do find it. So the best way to demonstrate this is with a T-pipe. When it comes to controlling your pipes, you push R, T, and Y. Right? So you're rotating on 3 different axes. That's literally how this game works. And when I've seen people go, "Oh, I can't turn the pipe vertical." So when it comes to vertical pipes or the straight pipe, because you can now go vertical, it's all about just R and Y. There's no T because the pipe doesn't have another way of looking. If you know what I mean, it's just bog standard R and Y. If you dig deeper, you will earn more money, and that's blatantly true. It doesn't matter where you are in this game. The deeper you go, the better you yield. Like up here, the average nugget is between 0.3 and 0.9, which is relatively good for a starter build. But then when you go deeper, which is right down here, you're looking at between 4 and 5 pounds per nugget, not ounces. All right, so yeah, genuinely, the deeper you dig, the better. When it comes to digging deeper, make sure you are using your tier 2 shovel and your tier 2 pickaxe. You cannot dig any deeper without these. You will only dig to tier 1, which is down this hole, which is this depth, which is like 8 blocks down, you know, and this is it, and then it goes down to tier 2. So tier 1 pickaxe goes down certain far, tier 2 pickaxe goes down the rest until you hit tier 3 soil, and that is in every single plot apart from Ember Cradle. Next piece of advice is sell to jewelers. The reason why I sell to jewelers more than I sell to stock markets is the jeweler will give you a base price. There's no up and down, it's just one price fits all. Now, when you're in further into like end game style and you've got a massive setup and everything else, it actually doesn't matter where you sell. But right at the beginning of the game, if you don't want to be screwed over by the stock market, because when you sell something to the stock market, the price will drop because you've already used that stock market and it doesn't reset for a little while. So the best thing you can do is just sell to the jeweler. And that's the reason why I do it. You can do what you like, but that's just my advice. Selling to the jeweler just is better. Next piece of advice, my next tip is actually making stuff. So let me just heat up 2 bars. Actually, let me just weigh these bars first, so we're doing an even thing. This bar weighs 1,197 pounds. Its worth is 23,958. Let me just write this down. So that's that one. So that's 23,954. And this is exactly the same, okay? Because what I did is I'm currently in creative mode. I have a magic wand and I can do this. So what I need to do is I need to find my magic wand again because I need to duplicate the ruby. Righty cokey skip. I've got my magic wand. I'm going to duplicate my ruby because this is a creative tool. You can use creative tools in normal mode as well now. As long as you go into creative mode, take them out of creative mode and then put them back in. Right, there we go. So I've duplicated the ruby. So we're running exactly the same ruby. I mean, the ruby is that big. 50 pounds worth of ruby. It's a beast of a ruby. And we'll pick up the other one. Just so we're... like, there we go. 50 pounds for ruby. Fantastic, right? So you're probably sitting there going, so what does this mean? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this bar in half. And then I'm going to set my anvil to a ring. 1 flaming gold bar, 1 jewel. Right, there's my jewel, my 50 pound ruby, and over here is my 1 gold bar. It's boiling hot, and now I need epoxy hammer, which is over there. Okay, and there is my ring. Right, cool. And now I'm going to take my ruby, which is a 50 pound ruby, stick it on the anvil and choose necklace. Now I'm going to take my gold bar and my other gold bar, and that's going to fall off. and pop. And there we go. So now we have a ruby and a necklace. And now we are going to compare pricing. So the ring. So as you can see, a £50 ruby and a massive bar of gold gets me 27 grand. So the value has gone up by around 3.5 grand, 4,000. Okay, so that's just a ring, and then we'll go on to the necklace. Already vast improvement. The weight is exactly the same because I used the same size ruby and the same size piece of gold, but if you look at the price, that's an increase of 7,000. It's a 25% extra income when making necklaces over rings. That's just how it is. Another way to make money is to take one bar of gold and split it three ways, then split each of those bars into 3 and make 3 necklaces, or 4 depending if you've got onyx. And then from there you'll just make more money. You make more money per necklace than you would do making rings. Yes, okay, it involves not chopping it in half, but for the extra cost of a saw, you can make an extra 4 grand off of what I just did. I mean, it's not going to be 4 grand for you if yours is a smaller amount. But you're seeing the difference here. A ring, for me, is 3 grand less than a necklace. So always make necklaces unless you really want the rings. You know, because I mean, they are pretty. Okay, another thing I see a lot of people doing in this game is trying to rush to get Claudium. Well, the Claudium Pipes. Alright, so I see a lot of people going, hey, I need to get on with the Claudium Pipes so I can build my T2 drill. And then it costs you a fortune. I mean, to get Claudium in itself, to get a drill, is a pain in the arse, basically. You know, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of grinding, and honestly, that over there is good enough, but it's 120. That's a lot of work. So, when it comes to Claudium piping is more expensive than iron. So, what you should be doing, in honesty, is trying to stick to iron for as long as possible. Yes, the glory of going all the way up to Claudium straight away and having all like the big stuff is all well and good. The downside is it's number one, really expensive, and when you're playing the game to start with, you don't really have a lot of money. And number two, the only real benefactor for running a Claudium pipeline is tier 2 drills and tier 2 harvester, because they can deal with the pressure. If you run Claudium piping into the back of an iron fed machine like the drill, like T1 drill, is it doesn't matter. The maximum pressure that can take is 180%, which is what you would get from a bog standard intake with the 4 boosters on it. That's 180%. That's how much is going to go into this. If you put Claudium piping onto the drill, it's only going to ever be 180, because that's as much as it can really deal with. Alright, so I see a lot of people trying to combine their builds at the moment and moving up to like Claudium. Honestly, all the while you're working on iron drills, just use iron piping. It does exactly the same, which is why I haven't converted all these to Claudium, because the pressure in it would be ridiculous and there's just no real major point. But, you know, it is each to their own. I'm just saying, if you want to save yourself a good couple of £1,000 in-game until you've earned that much money to get yourself your T2 drill and your T2 build and everything else, stick to iron as much as you can. It generally works, and there's no major problems. It sticks at the pressure it needs to be, and it runs the things it needs to do at the right pressure. And that's just how it is. I only ever, at the moment, with this build, I'm using Claudium piping to make the belts run faster, to clear the belts faster. The drills run at every 5 seconds. The belt needs to be cleared faster. That's why I use Claudium piping under my belts and not in my drills. Okay, now I'm going to show you a tip that involves the cheeky booster trick. This does work, but it's very cheeky, and at the moment it's in the game. I don't think it'll ever get patched. I don't think it'll ever be a thing, but genuinely quite funny. So your average like booster on here runs off of the intake down there. Alright, so if you're going to be running an iron line, you run an iron intake, and if you run a Claudium line, you run a Claudium intake. But what happens if you want more pressure at certain points, but you don't want to replace all your pipes? Like I've been talking about with like moving all this around. Now, if you're up to a point where you have enough money for a T2 drill, you're going to want to find a better way to sort of, I mean, at that point you could probably afford the piping. But if you've just been focusing on this and you forgot to upgrade your pipes, Then go and buy yourself a Claudium intake and a Claudium tank like this. And that's all you're going to need. And the reason why this works is because the intake pipe itself mimics the pressure tank mimics the intake pipe. All right. So what we've got here is we have two sets of piping, one on an iron line and with an iron intake, and one on a Claudium line with a Claudium intake. And as you can see, let me just pop my crystals in. It will only go up to whatever is down there. So this one will work to a point. It will just work the same as the intake down the other end, which is a Claudium intake. Okay, there we go. 368 versus 178, and that's because we're running on the Claudium line. Now I'm going to do something a little bit cheeky, and we're going to raise the pressure. So I've built my own line. I don't really want to replace it yet because it's too much money. It's a lot of faffing around. What I'll do is I'll take my intake off, and it'll be like, oh no, and then I'm going to take my intake off of here, plug it into the iron line. It's fully boosted, that's why it's steaming. You know, that's proper, but it's running at 180%, okay? But the pipe is like, oh my god, there's so much pressure running, help me, help me, help me. And what we've got up here is, I'll turn this on, and we're running at 368. So I haven't had to replace any of my piping, and now I'm running at full pressure. This basically works in, if you want to power your tier 1 drills off of iron piping, all you need is the Claudium tank and the Claudium intake, and then just boost it from there with Claudium boosters. It is a bit cheeky, but it works, and as long as it works, I don't care. Hopefully that'll save you some faffing around as well. The next tip is something I got criticised for when I was doing my fishing video, and it was just like, bro, you're not doing this. So it's a quick one. Stand on your cart and go fishing, and then when you've caught a fish, so it's a long ways away because I'm up this far, and there you go. You can catch your fish on a cart, and then you just wheel the whole lot to the jewelers, jump up on the table and sell the lot. If physics lets you, let's put it that way. Okay, so the next one is hand digging. Now, hand digging is, in fairness, I would say it's a little bit sort of, I'm going to say cheaty, but at the same time it's not cheating because it takes a lot of physical messing around, okay? And in honesty, it does sort of get to a point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm losing the will to live. But let me just demonstrate how fast this really is. So I need a pan, and we need to go down here to T2. All good. Okay, so let's say you're at the bottom of the plot, and this could be any plot, and you're like, oh my god, no, I don't, I haven't got enough for a machine, I need to make some quick money. Hand digging has always been the way forward, and honestly, if you go back to my earlier videos, my 1.7 sort of section, that's when I actually proved that hand digging was really fast. I competed against 13 Goliath drills, and I won because unfortunately hand digging actually is a little bit quicker. But I'm just going to show you the basics. So this is all you need: a conveyor belt, and in honesty a harvester and a bucket. If you want to put this onto a sorting shelf, that's all up to you. But this is how people beat the speedrun record, and that's how Landon got it down to an hour to hit 1 million. Literally had a setup like this. You had the conveyor belts going into a harvester, going into a sorting area, and then everything worked. So in order for you to hand dig, all you've got to do is stand as close to the soil as possible, or wherever the soil is in your builds, have a conveyor belt running constantly, and just dig, and then put it onto put it onto the conveyor belt. And this will work a lot faster than actually doing machines. Now the problem with is number one, you might get a little bit dizzy. Number two, it's just a bit like, oh my god, I'm doing so much work. But the reward already, look what we've done within a few seconds. At the end of the day, hand digging has always been a faster way until obviously you get to a massive build. When you get to big builds and you're running 20 or 30 drills, yeah, you're going to be outclassed. But if you're looking for quick money as soon as you start this game, in all honesty, you can do this on tier 1 down in Ember. You can literally just buy the harvester, just buy a conveyor belt, and go from there. I'm going to be looking into hand digging and see what we can earn within a certain amount of time and go from there, and just really go for it and see what we can do. But for now, yeah, unless you're running massive builds, I mean, as said, this is 120 drills. I cannot outperform 120 drills. But if you've only got like 1 or 2 to start with, like I did in one of my live streams, like let's say you've got this setup, you know, you're running into a basic tiny setup like this. Grab an extra conveyor belt, hook it up onto the side of the harvester, put a pipe up so it runs, and just dig as quickly as you can. And you'll make money quicker. It generally works for early game. It's really good for early game, and it will help you earn that like extra like 100 or 200 or whatever you're looking for when it comes to iron and Claudium, because if you're digging faster, you're gonna find more material. Next tip is all about your depth. So obviously tier 1 and tier 2 does cause some confusion. There are comments going into the Discord and like other chats around, mainly basically people just going, I don't know what tier I'm on, I don't know how to measure this, I don't know how to do that. And I get it, it's a pain in the arse, right? But easy way to deal with this is literally this. This is the easiest way to know where you are. The tier 1 pickaxe. The reason why this is the easiest way to know where you are is because as long as you can still dig the soil, you're in tier 1. So your drills will work as long as this still works, okay? And how I can show you this is I go to my tier 1 section, which is down the first hole down here. So all of this soil is tier 1. All right, all of this is tier 1. But the minute I go a little bit lower, let me just get past the concrete block. See that? That's tier 2. So that means that I've reached my limit. And now I need my other pickaxe because I need a tier 2 pickaxe to dig with. And that is how you know where your tiers are. And then basically, like if it says tier 1 on it, like the little 1 icon over in the description box, that's the tier. So if you measure it using this, and then if you want to know how deep you are, use concrete blocks. So concrete blocks is how I measure everything in this game. Like how deep am I, how deep is this, and yada yada yada. So as it's a block and everything's on a grid, you get a gist of how deep you are going into the game. So if it gets to a point that you can't dig anymore, like over here, then what I would do is I'd put a block on top of it, because anything below that block is going to be tier 2. If I take soil from up here and put it on top of this block, it's going to stay tier 1. The interesting thing that keeps getting asked is, if I take soil from the bottom and then put it on a drill up top, is that going to work? Well, it'll work, but not how you want it to. Basically, when you take a piece of soil from as low as you can possibly take one from and bring it to the top and put it down, the properties change from where it came from to where it is now. So basically, this drill here is running on T1 soil, which is this stuff here. All right. If I took that piece of soil to the bottom, it would turn into wherever I lay it. So it would turn into like T2 or T3, depending on wherever I put the soil down. Okay. So that's just I know it keeps being asked, but I get it. People are new and the joys of like learning. It was one thing that I experimented with really early, like in 1.1 I think it was, and yeah, generally that physics hasn't changed ever. It's always been the same. So yeah, it won't work. Okay. The modding community has started to work, and when I say started to work, there are now active mods in Hydroneer. You don't have to go to Bridgepool's GitHub anymore. You don't have to go and download them from strange links. You can go straight onto your Steam client now, go to the workshop tab under Hydroneer and download mods. This basically presents you with extra things to do. It means that I can sit here and go and play in the casino that's been set up in Bridgeport. I can have all like some new equipment, and I can also do this. The F7 creative mod. And basically this is everything in the game. Everything. And it's all right. I can have the dev section, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one of the dev tools working. Actually, I can show you a couple of them. So number one, and it's one of my favorite ways to test things, is this. This is the developer's pipe of dirt. Now you can get the developer's pipe of gems, but the developer's pipe of dirt is much better. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn on my conveyor belts because, well, you know, I'm going to need to. And I'm going to set this up overlooking my pipe, and it just floods the conveyor belt. This basically helps for stress testing large builds, small builds. It helps testing your entire session, and then if you take it off, it just stops and it's all good. This basically is an amazing set. We're able to get into really testing things out now, instead of being like, well, you know, I mean, we've got all the stuff that we can get, like concrete blocks and pipes and everything else, and that's what the F7 mod is really for. You're able to spawn anything you want into the game, and you're able to do anything you want to do anything. But for me, it's more the dev stuff, and the reason why is because I enjoy testing things. Now, when I downloaded the mods, and I was actually in a live stream when I was doing this, and it was like, oh my god, I can actually get this. This is amazing. But then someone went, hey, did you know you can get the dev pickaxe? And I didn't know I could do this. So the dev pickaxe is like running around with a nuclear missile. Alright, you don't need nukes anymore, you just need the dev pickaxe. And the dev pickaxe can dig tunnels faster than anything in the game. And all those people spawning nukes in and being like, yeah, you know, I'm blowing up this plot of land. I am so sorry. This just works so much faster. And the dev pickaxe is now my favourite tool of all time. And also I can run up the side of South Hope. But yeah, I carved all this out with the dev pickaxe. It didn't take me less than a couple of minutes, not even that. So imagine how fast you can clear out plots of land with this tool. Finding all the relics with this tool. You'll be all gold. So yeah, hopefully you guys have learned something. Hopefully this video has helped someone. And in all honesty, at the end of the day, I genuinely hope that, you know, that it's all good. Oh, and also, if you want to get rid of stuff, so let me just drop this off. In order to like copy it, if you push the mouse button or the mouse roller in the middle, right, you can, you know, you get another one. If you want to get rid of it, push left control and click the mouse wheel, and it all disappears, and it's all good. So thank you very much for kicking by. This has been Hybridsteel. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, notification button below for all other updates. And I'll be back here with a brand new video, live stream, or whatever else I do on this channel. Until then, thank you very much for kicking by. Peace out. Have fun. Enjoy everything you guys do. I'll be over on that side next time. Bye-bye for now. Boom. Fist bump to you.